and welcome to the Ramon Foster Show, brought to you by the Get-Go Cafe and Market, where they're serving hot, fresh food 24/7, Mo, and that includes the most wonderful steak and pepper jack wrap that you will have anywhere. Did you notice I said wrap?
A wrap. You know I'm a rap fan, so you know that, right?
You are. That's why I did that.
And pepper jack cheese, too?
Yeah, and I loaded up. And you know what else I put on it?
What?
Not a thing.
Meat and cheese, you carnivore.
Meat and cheese. It is a carnivorous activity that can happen, by the way, at any hour of the night, which is great. Let's talk a little bit of football here, and let's step back. The mini camp is over now. There's still another round of OTAs next week, but in watching mini camp and everything that Mike Tomlin does, I never stop being surprised / impressed by the man's energy.
Yeah.
He's been doing this for a long time now, and he's done it through a lot of different circumstances, some of them really trying and adverse circumstances, stuff that can bring someone down, someone that can wear you out, and he doesn't, and you know this man.
Yeah, for sure.
Why doesn't it happen? Why doesn't it fade with him? Or is he hiding it from us? You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
for sure. He has this saying of his, and I think it can be multifaceted in how you approach it when you start to, try to parse like what's his drive? Why does he still want to do it? The criticism, the failure of not getting to the Super Bowl as often as you like to. It goes back to me when you started asking that question. And he always says this to us when, it's ups or down times or it's the start of something. Football is our game. Winning is our business. He says that often to us, or often enough to where you understand what the heck the task is. You know what I'm saying? Like, football is the game, and I know he enjoys the game of it. That's why he breaks down film. That's why he's, passionate when he's in the team meeting room with us. That's why he approaches guys the way that he does too, because I think he understands the game of what it is. That's why you don't see him towering over guys that say, hey, you should do this, the dictator stuff. Because football is the game. It's always going to be the ins and outs of it. And I know he craves and loves that. And you got to also look in his past too, as far as him being able to play it, at where he was, William & Mary, and not having that full opportunity. So I think it's that drive of what football is to him. He speaks about it as far as practicing on a holiday, Christmas games, Thanksgiving games. All of those things is football to him, and it's just what you do. But the aspect of winning, I think that's the ultimate drive for almost anybody. I don't think it's one of those, let me be, a 2 times African-American Super Bowl winning coach. I don't think that's a drive for him. I think the idea of simply winning, besting a person, you know what I'm saying? Or besting a team to where you're standing on top of that hill, and then it becomes a repeat to him because the football game is over again. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's one thing he's always preached to us. And I'm not sure if you've even heard that one much at all, is the aspect of winning is the business of it too. Because he'll acknowledge, I enjoy what the NFL does. You men should enjoy it too. DK, we are beneficiaries of it now because we cover this game of football and the business side of it. But it's the actual winning that drives you to continue moving forward with it. Yeah, I'm looking at his past. I'm looking at his past a little bit, but I'm also looking at why he would actually play it this long.
Yeah, that's you're always looking, I think, in a situation like this for what is someone's drive, what is the thing that he's thinking about. And it can be as simple as the way Kevin Colbert put it at his last press conference a couple of weeks ago, where you just walk by the Lombardis. And for Kevin, it was just saying, I'm so glad that, that there were 4 and now there are 6, and I'm proud of that. And for Kevin, it really was that simple and that basic. You're adding to the cupboard there. You're adding to that case that's in that upper lobby at the Steelers Southside headquarters. But where Tomlin is concerned, it always, I don't know. You mentioned the African American component, which he has expressed pride in. Which he expressed, by the way, disappointment in. Over this offseason for how that situation has actually regressed around the league. it doesn't feel like this is one of those Jerome Bettis situations where you go, I just need one more and I am out of here. Like, that doesn't feel like what the motivation is. Do you know what I'm saying?
And that's what I meant by, like, it's the rinse and repeat with him. It's he's in that, he has an office and then he has a back office that's a film office. You know what I'm saying? And he's in that room just trying to figure out what's next. I really do think he's a psychopath at trying to be the best at it. And in that, it's ups and downs, it's ebbs and flow and everything else. And if you talk to him, he understands that. If you talk to him, it's a matter of, man, this dude is all in. And, you know, as much flack as he get about, well, was it Ben or was it him? Or was it the defense who's calling the calls and all those types of things? I would almost tell you he don't give a damn, because he really want to just win. And I think that when you go look at the draft pick this year, as far as Kenny Pickett goes, I think he sees a winner's type of mentality in the guy that he would go get that kind of represents him. Pitt ain't a small school, but it's overlooked a little bit as far as players. You got Aaron Donald, you got Larry Fitzgerald, but it's kind of shady also, but it's overlooked as far as a powerhouse. So go get a guy like you. I think that's one of the components of why the Steelers go get a guy like Ben too, Miami. And then you go get at the time, the youngest black head coach to ever come into the NFL, because he has that same exact drive that probably Kev does, that Mr. Rooney does. You know what I'm saying? So for him, it's a never-ending cycle, though, DK, of wanting to win. I do think some coaches come into this league real quick that just like the job and the glitz of it. That ain't him. He would probably tell you it's winning.
Yeah, it has to be something that's not super tangible as it's related to the job. It has to be something that he's feeling that it's some sort of higher calling, because the energy that goes into these jobs, for anybody who does not know the amount of hours that an NFL head coach works, actually any NFL coach, head coach down to the lowest level positional assistant, it's extraordinary. The demand for the time, the demand for the focus. And then on top of that, we're talking about a family man. We're talking about someone who's a husband to Kia, who's a father to his children, who are at their own college age. And I don't know where he gets the energy from. Not after all this time. To me, especially after watching Bill Cowher, Coach Cowher was that guy, by the way. He had reached the end, but he was not going to go out, Moan, until he won one. And it turned out to be the same one as Jerome. But and then what happened after that? See ya. I'm going to go do some TV. I'm going to do TV. This is easy. I can just sit here and criticize people. This is great.
For sure, man. But I would say this, and y'all know I'm a Tomlin fan too, and I know there's a bunch of Tomlin haters or people that rather move on. I won't say haters, but rather move on. You got the right guy. You got to ask your question. It's probably a short list that you replace him with, and those guys are already at jobs they're happy with.
Question about that. When we come back on the Ramon Foster Show, why? After all these years, does the NFL not have a minor league system? Why? Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show, brought to you by the Get Go Cafe and Market. Here's a totally off-the-wall subject here.
Yeah.
And I've not watched 1 millisecond of this USFL crap. I don't buy any sort of league that takes all of its teams and sticks them in one stadium in the middle of nowhere, which is what Alabama is, with all due respect to whatever, okay? And says, hey, here's the Pittsburgh so-and-so versus the New Jersey so-and-so. You're like, yay, Pittsburgh. And meanwhile, none of these people have ever even been to our city or any. So this is what I want to ask here. Ramon, there are so many football players who, once they're out of college, and this could have happened to you too, that they don't get that job right away. They are out, man.
Yeah.
They're pumping gas, they're working grocery stores, or they're becoming rocket scientists like a Josh Dobbs or whatever, but they're not playing football.
Yeah.
And I don't understand, with the intensive demand that there is for this product, for this entertainment in our country, that the NFL itself can't start a minor league. We saw it with the NBA. I mean, baseball's had it for 100 years, but the NBA started, what do they call it? The NBA, the D League or something? I don't know.
The G League.
G League. I think it was D League at one
It
point
was D,
or something, but they had their own version of it. Here, because you can only get 5 players on the court at a time. We need these other players to play somewhere.
Yeah.
Why hasn't the NFL done that?
It's the numbers, I think, number one, as far as numbers on the field and numbers as far as finances, as far as putting it together. You mentioned it being in Alabama, in Birmingham. I was actually there not too long ago. And it's the logistics of all of that, having the hotels, having the training staff, having the money to fund it, having also, this is the part that kind of, I've watched about 2 or 3 games, DK, of the USFL, and I just saw the XFL just got announced too. There's a few Steelers. Hines Ward is a head coach, and Bruce Gradkowski is an offensive coordinator in that league too. Shout out to those guys, just because. But it's hard to actually kind of do it though, DK. And can I be honest? The NFL don't want it. I don't think they do.
Why?
I don't think they do, because if you have another league, then it's competing against. What if there's a side of it that's, what if there's another just social crisis? Well, I'm tuning it off. I'm gonna go watch the USFL. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's an outlet for it if it's there. And it's hard to sustain a minor league.
It doesn't. No minor leagues compete with the major leagues. If you put, this is what I'm thinking here, Moan. You have 32 NFL markets, or there's a couple obviously that share, New York, LA, and whatever else. Okay, so but you still have 29 or 30 markets. Now, if you go to your next tier and you say, all right, we're going to put a minor league, an NFL-based minor league franchise in Columbus, Ohio, just as an example. Okay, and it can be either for the Browns or the Bengals. There'd be some common sense involved there. Okay. You know what I mean? That they'd have a nice, easy commute back and forth when somebody gets called up. And you do this in lieu of practice squads. You actually would make and nurture a better overall product. What is the biggest separation when you watch the NFL and you watch these competitor leagues? What single position is the biggest difference?
Quarterback.
Yeah. Why? Because there's only 32 of them on the planet.
Yeah. Was it you the other day that just said in total there's probably only 40?
Probably 40, because there's 8 backups that you would trust to be a regular starter in the National Football League. Why not make more of them? Why
it can't work? Because their talent is what it is, and the biggest thing that the NFL has going for it is it does have college. You are requiring them to do 3 years before they actually come to the NFL, so you have that aspect of it too. If you have a young guy that's not quite ready, then you give him time, because there's another veteran that's already on the roster anyway. DK, it comes down to the talent. Think about it. It's talent, numbers, money. That's what it is. If we just really were to say it, talent, number, money. I've watched it, even from the lineman perspective. They're just not that good. You might have 1 or 2, DK, but the 1 or 2 that you're looking for are already on a roster, practice squad somewhere. And the one that got cut, he probably can't go play because he don't want to play down. He's better than what the league has, but he ain't good enough to actually still make an NFL roster. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's the talent separator, DK. And that's one thing I'm glad you kind of brought this up. I'm not going to go on the soapbox with this, but there's a lot of people that think they can actually do what we've done in the NFL. It is. But the reality of it is, you just can't. It's hard. The talent separator is immense when it comes down to talking about a minor league guy versus a guy that's in the NFL. Now, the difference is between other sports is you can go out, they're skill oriented. Okay. Baseball. There's a guy in the minors right now that should probably be in the bigs because he can hit tanks. He can throw his butt off, okay? The same thing goes for basketball. You know how many times I've seen guys at an open gym somewhere just hooping, dunking, whatever they want to, and they're still not in the NBA? Well, that's also a talent separator in there too. But Think about the guy that is in the NBA or is in the MLB, or even, do we even start talking about hockey? What about minor league hockey when it comes down to it? There's a huge separator.
There is, and at the same time, you don't see that massive fall off at the most important position the way you do in the NFL. Yeah, and it's quarterback, and even the CFL, you don't see quarterbacks come from the CFL anymore and make it to the NFL. Whereas, I'm going to date myself with these references, but Doug Flutie, Warren Moon came from the Edmonton Eskimos to go to the Houston Oilers, and Warren Moon ended up being, Flutie and others made a difference. And to me, between that and the World League and when they were based in Europe and everything, you had something of a feeder system where someone could rise up. As it is, Moan, they just walk away. They just find something else to do. And that makes, in our nation's most popular sport, that makes no sense to me.
I'd much rather have a bigger practice squad than I would a second league. I just would. I was watching a Pittsburgh.
You're going to make a quarterback better? You're going to make a quarterback better in practices?
Well, at least I have the talent just in case I need it. With that one right there, like I'm watching the Maulers this past weekend, and I couldn't. The kid, I'm not I'm paid to critique him. He made some throws he shouldn't have. He should have threw the ball into the flat running with the tight end running out to the left. He didn't. So is that? It's the name recognition aspect of it too, DK. Like, it's hard to uplift somebody if I don't know who the heck he is.
There's that too. When we come back, it's time for our Hey Moan segment. Welcome back to the Ramon Foster Show, and it's time for our Hey Moan segment. And today's entry comes from Slim, who says, "Hey Moan!" Multiple exclamation points here. While you were growing up, what was your favorite NFL team and why? Big number 73.
I'll go to the number first. The number, I'll be completely honest with you. I was glad they gave me a 70. Okay, I just needed something in the 70s. I didn't want a 50. I didn't want a 60. I wanted a 70s.
That's all that is you see those numbers? We call those spring training numbers in baseball. You get those 82s and stuff like that. You are so cut.
Yeah, man. Unless you're getting 66, which they gave it to Dave after I don't think anybody warned us in Spanica at that time. No, was it Tony Hill? But 66 is a real cool number to have. But it wasn't many. I needed a 70 because I was like, well, I belong in the cool kids club.
This man wants to know your favorite team when you were growing up.
Oh, you see me dodging it real quick right there.
I see this, and I sniffed it out, and I stopped it.
Although not on this day right here, but it was the Cowboys. I'm from Tennessee. Wow. I know. Okay, hear me out. Hear my logic. And it'll be some people in the comments that can back me up on this because it's Tennessee fans in here also.
Assuming they're still watching.
They are. I know. But Tennessee didn't have a team. The state didn't have a team at the time when I was growing up.
Not until the Houston Oilers moved up. And that was by the way, for people who forgot, the Houston Oilers moved to Memphis.
That was my area.
Yeah. And it wasn't until the stadium was built in Nashville that they ended up finding a permanent home. Yeah,
it was the Cowboys for that reason. Cowboys are hot. Emmitt Smith, Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, Troy Aikman, all those guys I was fans of. One of the coolest kid stories I had was I tried to call the operator and get Emmitt Smith's number. The operator gave me 555-2222.
No way. That's hilarious.
I swear to you to this day.
That's like writing to Santa and just putting North Pole on the envelope.
She knew we were kids, and she just gave me some generic stock number, man. But it was the Cowboys growing up because why? It was popular. We didn't have a team here, and it's interesting now that we even have a team in Nashville, the Titans. You find a lot of people who are Titans. That are Titans and Steelers fans. No. They're Titans fans. Or they're also have another home team also that they have a fan of. So I've seen Cowboys who are Steelers fans who are go to Titans games and stuff like that. It's a big influx of Steeler Nation here in Tennessee.
Yeah, for anybody who isn't aware of this impact, if you go back over the advent of cable television and the way certain teams were
Yep.
so visible nationally, and I'm talking about in any sport here. In Major League Baseball, the Atlanta Braves had their own network,
Yep.
TBS,
CBS.
with the Turner Broadcasting Service, and they, as a result, became America's team in
America's
baseball.
team.
Why?
Yep.
Because half the country could watch their games.
Mm-hmm.
And a similar principle applied to the Cubs with WGN. And in football, it's
Yep.
different because they go to national networks. And CBS in particular fell in love with the Dallas Cowboys.
Yes,
If
they
you
did.
heard Pat Summerall and John Madden, you knew the Cowboys were on. They
That's
ended
what
up
we got.
more than half of their games were the Cowboys. So in addition to everything else, just hearing Summerall and Madden, it felt like a really big event. So now their stars ended up seeming larger than life. Even predating, Aikman and the guys that you mentioned. You go back,
Irvin,
into the 70s, with Roger Staubach and Drew Pearson and Hollywood Henderson and everybody else that they had. Ed Too Tall Jones, owner of the
Tennessee
best
guy
nickname in human history, not in football history, human history. Ed Too Tall Jones.
Yes,
will
man.
Never be topped.
It ain't. So the teams that were here, the Cowboys, 49ers, and Steelers. That is a fan base to this day that most people tell you they got a sister team if you're a Titans fan for the most part. And most of the people here are either they underlying Cowboys, underlying Steelers, or underlying 49er fans.
My favorite thing about the sister team concept?
Because
it does exist. People say, I'm a fan of like you hear a lot of that. You know where you hear it? In like Arizona, where they go, I like the Cardinals and I'll go to their games, but I'm mostly a ... You hear that in places like Tampa and the transient places. My favorite thing about the sister team concept, ask someone in Pittsburgh who's sister. It's like you're asking them to impugn their family.
I've trashed people because of that. So just to clear it up, I only got one team. Okay, that's the Steelers. And my kids only got one team. My wife only has one team. My family has one team, and it is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, wow. Well, that's one pro team. I know what he's meaning, what he's up to when he's wearing orange. That's different.
That's a different.
Yeah. That's really, really good stuff. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody tuning in to the Ramon Show all week long. We're available in comments. Come say hello. We'll say hello right back. Leave your comments, criticisms, suggestions, hey moan entries, the whole deal.
Yes, indeed. And who's your sister team, if you have one?
In football?
Any sport.
I would take your Winnipeg Blue Bombers in the CFL, just because I'm a Winnipeg kind of guy.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Also, 2-time defending CFL Grey Cup champions.
Okay. I'll say this too. I believe in you can have a sister team in pros. I think you got to pledge allegiance to your college, though. I will say that. I don't know if you can have two college teams, like a North Carolina basketball fan, an Alabama football fan. No.
That's a little different. Yeah, you got a piece of paper that kind of authenticizes what you should be doing there. Yeah. Let's do this again Monday, Moan.
Let's do it, DK.